Zen Master Live and Uncut. Zen Master Live and Uncut. We're just going to do a quick little sound check on YouTube to make sure it's all good for you and yours. You'll probably get a double feed for a half a second. We'll see. We'll see. And right about now, we should be getting that feed. Zen Master Live. There we go. Okay, good to go. You can hear me. It's your man Zen Master. We'll let a few folks filter on in. Make sure you hit that like button as you come on in. Make sure you say something in the chat so we can see you. The chat is visible from where we are, and we're here to move and groove, man. A lot going on, as you know, a whole lot going on in these here States of America. We're going to break down things as we see it. Of course, the topic of the day is the topic of every damn day in this country now, it seems, and that is our dear dictator, Donald J. Trump. Something I never thought I'd see or say here in America has come to fruition. We'll go deep into that topic here very shortly. In the meantime and in between time, we got other topics on deck, things that we want to talk about and get into, including first and foremost, a very hot rumor. Um, and it is just that, folks. We got to be very careful and specific about our words here and not sling accusations around. But there is a rumor going around the internet, take it as seriously as you may, that actress Cynthia Erivo is being set to play African American singer, sex symbol, icon, Chaka Khan. Chaka Khan. Chaka, Chaka Khan. Now, if this upsets you, hearing this news, I feel for you. I think I love you, but I feel for you. And we certainly had our fun here as a community at PTJ as we posted a few pics of Shaka Khan to our community section. We asked you guys if you thought that Cynthia Erivo was qualified to play to play Shaka Khan in the movie. Now, I'm being facetious. I'm being very tongue in cheek about this because we really didn't poll you. We just kind of threw out the red meat and let you react to it, which I know you guys love to do. So this is kind of that result of what we were doing. This is the gist of what we were doing, right? So we threw this picture out and we said, hey, look, one more picture of Shaka Khan to drive the point home. Cynthia Erivo, my ass. And look, Cynthia Erivo may be a fantastic actress. Some of my favorite actresses are black and British, which typically come by way of Nigeria, not to disregard the other African nations. Letitia Wright, for example, is one of my very favorite actresses. Omar Sy is one of my favorite actors. Of course, we all love your man Idris Elba. There's tons of British actors that we love, black British actors that we love, queer British actors, gay British actors, all sorts of British actors that we love. I have nothing against Cynthia Erivo personally, although there seems to be a history of Cynthia Erivo making anti African American comments. I will go about pulling those up. Let's pull up a new tab here and let's do the Googling live. Y'all let me know what you think in the chat, but I'm going to go ahead and Google Cynthia Erivo, anti, damn it, Black American comments. I promise you guys a drop tonight, and I got a little lazy, smoked, decided I was just going to give it to you raw. So I apologize for the lack of formatting that you're getting tonight, but you are getting that raw, uncut Zen master here in the building. Let me go ahead and put up a YouTube chat viewer so I can see what you're saying as I'm sharing. Just forgive me for a second while I do that. By the way, I hope everybody's doing well. Make sure you leave a comment in the chat. Let us know where you're viewing from tonight. Um, what your thoughts and feelings are about this Cynthia Erivo story, how you feel about her as an actress, how you feel about her as a talent. I made my opinion clear, and the problem for me is not her talent as an actress. Not at all. Problem for me is I remember Chaka Khan vividly as a young boy. And what I remember most about Shaka Khan as a young boy is how incredibly sexy she was. Shaka Khan was what you call built for sex. Even as a young boy, a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, a 12-year-old, I drooled over those album covers. Drooled. I can't, to this day, they're fixed in my mind, right? Every image that I saw Shaka Khan until I Feel For You, which was about 86, 87. Chaka Khan was hot as grease, and we all knew it. I used to fantasize about her in such a way that I would look at the Rufus covers and I would think, which one of them is hitting it? No bullshit. That's how deep and how attractive Shaka Khan was to black men and boys of my generation. So to tell me that Cynthia Erivo is going to possibly play her in a movie is like slapping me in the face, pouring cold ice water on me, and just outright insulting me in one fell swoop. I thought I got that chat viewer up, folks. I may not have added it. Let me go ahead and take care of that now. I think I added the widget, so this should be pretty simple to get you up on screen after it connects. Pardon me for the brief interruption in the conversation. Yeah, thank you for your patience. I just need to copy the video ID from YouTube and it should pick up the chat in no time. So again, pardon me. Give me just a moment here and we'll have your comments on screen. I really am interested in what you have to say tonight. These are hot topics. Of course, we don't have any confirmation. Again, I want to say that no confirmation here at PTJ of Cynthia Erivo actually being in this role. We do have our chat viewer up now, so I want to make sure it's transparent so we can actually see through and not miss the actual screen. So pardon me while I bring down the opacity and size this joker to the right space for us here. Didn't seem to make an adjustment, but that's okay. We'll just size it down anyway and get y'all out of my studio here. Anyway, back to the this shit don't seem to be working. I'm gonna cut it. I can't see that from here. We'll just have to go back and forth. All right. Thanks for your patience. But again, we're talking about Cynthia Erivo and whether or not she could pull off the role of Shaka Khan. And on its face, no, no. You have to have a sex symbol at her core to play Shaka Khan. The person who comes to mind immediately to me is SZA. I've always thought SZA resembled Shaka Khan. Now, I did happen to see SZA in that movie recently, with Kiki Palmer, and I'm not a great judge of acting talent per se. I don't want to say that she has a long way to go. I don't know. I'd have to watch, with the critical eye. But at 35, I think she's the right age to pull this role off, having the maturity to sit down and learn how to act at this point in life. If she doesn't know how to act, she certainly has the look. I mean, out the cannon, she has the look. K. Michelle comes to mind too as somebody else who could pull this off. But SZA, I think, is the best choice for this role, man. The sex appeal she has is off the charts. She can sing, so she knows the ins and outs of what Shaka does. She knows the life. All of that is SZA to the core. So not only are you bringing an actress who does have a good ability to sing, you're bringing the sensuality, the look, and quite frankly, some African American mass appeal. She's from New Jersey. All right. I don't know SZA's roots. For all I know, SZA could be a Nigerian American. For all I know, it's not about that. As I mentioned early on, it's not about that. I'm 38% Nigerian by DNA. My family's been here since the 1600s. My family were slaves in Virginia. My family were slaves in Georgia. In my opinion, this is about casting and not about lineage. Sometimes y'all got to set the FBA shit aside. Sometimes you got to set the ADOS shit aside and just look at things for what they are. If Cynthia Erivo had this level of attractiveness, I'm sorry, Cynthia Erivo. I don't mean to qualitatively judge your beauty. That's just my opinion. But if she were what we see here before us in SZA, this would be a slam dunk. But she's not. She's not. I saw Cynthia Erivo as Jesus Christ recently. And we can talk about that as well. All right. Now, I understand that to Christians that this can be deemed offensive because A, Jesus Christ is not supposed to be a woman, and B, Jesus Christ is not supposed to be a sub-Saharan African. This violates both of those. And C, Jesus Christ is not supposed to be a lesbian sub-Saharan African woman. However, Christians cannot agree on what Jesus Christ looked like. You can agree on his gender. We cannot agree on his sexuality because he never had any relationships that we know of, that didn't have any children. So we can't, according to Hoyle, declare that Jesus was a heterosexual, although I know that will be blasphemous to believers. We can confirm that Jesus is supposed to be the Son of God. So therefore, at least one of these strikes is valid. Now, you could say, hey, Shaka Khan is descended from sub-Saharan African women. Check. That's probably where it ends. I think that's it. That's where the comparison ends with these two. They can sing and they're both descended from sub-Saharan Africa. But Shaka Khan is like 5'3" and voluptuous. And when she was young, she was this amazingly tender looking, just like I said, pardon the expression, built for sex, Pam Grierish type of woman. And I just don't see that in Cynthia Erivo in the least little bit as we look at her playing Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ Superstar. Now, of course, I don't take this as seriously as I take Chaka Khan, but you're telling me this is the woman that is rumored to be playing Chaka Khan? If you'd have said Grace Jones, I'd be with it. Matter of fact, Cynthia Erivo, buy the rights to Grace Jones' life story, play Grace Jones. I haven't seen the Harriet movie. I'm sure you did a wonderful job in that. None of us really know what Harriet looks like, but Harriet is definitely closer to a sub-Saharan African. We have a like one picture of Harriet, but she's definitely closer to Cynthia Erivo than Shaka Khan. Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way. We're gonna move on from Cynthia Erivo. I think this was really all I wanted to say. I just want you all to know I have nothing against Cynthia Erivo, my African brothers and sisters, immigrants at large. We are one as far as I'm concerned. All right. I am 38% Nigerian. I am Sierra Leonean. I am Gambian. I am a little bit Cameroonian and a little bit Congolese. And I got 23% Yakub from Europe. Straight British too. Nothing else but British. So, I know my roots. I'm a Nigerian Brit like a lot of you. Just 4 or 5 generations or more down the line as a descendant of slaves here in America. So we're not going to play those games here. I know who I am. And when the checks come, they need to come to the right people. By the way, that's not hard. We all know the last names. We all know. So that ain't even a hard conversation to have. Anyway, moving on to our next topic of the day. And I gotta admit, I got politics on the brain here lately. I've been watching a lot of Danielle Moody, who I think is fucking fantastic. If you have not tuned into Danielle Moody's channel, pardon me, and I'm wearing veneers, so pardon me if I sound funny as well. Daniel Moody, Moodie, is probably the most brilliant political analyst I've come across in a long time. I was familiar with her as Danielle Moody Mills back in the day as a writer, I believe, and lost track of her, but she's resurfaced and she's grinding really hard on her podcast. She's working with Wajahat Ali as well as other podcasters. And no one expresses how I feel about things right now in America more than Danielle Moody. I don't have to say that much. It's hard for me to even stop and record. That's why I couldn't get to record tonight because I was watching Danielle. She's that good. But we got other stuff going on. Like I said, we want to talk about and that we posted here in the title. So we want to have truth in advertising. I'm a Pennsylvanian. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, but I got love for the Eastern side. I used to go to Philly when my mom and dad was fighting. My mom would take me and my sister down to Philly. Maybe we spent a couple weeks there or whatever, and head on back to Western PA. But Philly's always been a part of my life. Being a Pennsylvania, and it's relatively unavoidable. Even when you're from Pittsburgh, you tell people you're from Pennsylvania, and ultimately you're from Philadelphia. I don't know how it works, but they forget everything else. So Philly's just this huge magnet in Pennsylvania. And, growing up a Steelers fan, we never really paid the Eagles much attention. We liked Ron Jaworski. That was probably our guy. But between Ron Jaworski, Donovan McNabb, Randall Cunningham, of course, was amazing. The Eagles have had some good quarterbacks, but really, Reggie White and not much else to speak of. No championships until recent years when Jalen Hurts arrived, and before Jalen Hurts, um, you had Carson Wentz arrive, and Nick Foles won a championship. Most importantly, that coaching staff and the GM staff arrived in Philadelphia and turned things into a winning organization. Then you got the dumbass New York Giants, the absolutely idiotic, no holds barred dummies of the year New York Giants, who gave away probably the best running back since Adrian Peterson. Probably. You could say Derrick Henry. You can make a case for Derrick Henry. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to. But Adrian Peterson, Saquon Barkley, you put them side by side, and I challenge you to tell me which one's better. I would challenge you. Having said that, the players of the National Football League, players of the National Football League voted on their top 100 players in the NFL. Mind you, you have 53-man rosters, 32 teams. That's over 1,600 players in the National Football League. Saquon Barkley was voted number one as the number one player in the National Football League by his companions, his compatriots, the rest of the league. Big up to Saquon Barkley. Big up to Philadelphia and that offensive line who made it happen. Um, as a Steelers fan, I'm both impressed and envious. I can't stand what's going on in Pittsburgh right now. I'm hoping we have a good season. I'm thinking we're going to have a good season, but Philadelphia has the keys as far as I'm concerned. You build a football team from the lines out, and the first line that you have to build is the doggone offensive line. And Philadelphia has the best O line in football, period. That O line allows Jalen Hurts to be a good to better quarterback. He doesn't have to be a great quarterback, but it allows Jalen Hurts to come out and play relatively pressure free. Not only that, you throw the best running back in the world behind him, and now you have the defense at bay every snap. The quarterback can run, the running back can run, the offensive line can keep you in position and get gaps, which makes it very easy for AJ Brown. Very easy. These guys, they might repeat. I wouldn't be surprised to see Philly repeat. They lost some players like Darius Slay. They've lost some talent. Um, they feel they've done a good job in replacing that talent. We'll see how it pans out. You got to trust the organization at this point. They are the Super Bowl champions. But we just wanted to say big up and congratulations to Saquon Barkley. Do your thing. We'll be watching on Thursday night, which is the opening night for the National Football League. And as you can see, the Philadelphia Eagles are predicted to win this game by ESPN 69.7%. Now, let's get down to business. Mr. Donald Trump. Oh. I have notes, I have an outline. I'm gonna try to speak it as extemporaneously as possible, but I don't want to miss anything. So forgive me if I pause from time to time. Okay. Um, I believe we're looking at the end of the United States of America, whether it is being done deliberately or indeliberately. This is not going to be the 50 state two party country that you and I are accustomed to having or grew up with. It's not going to be. We are now in the position of pre secessionist actions and pre Civil War actions. Um, we have a Republican president who is using the National Guard troops from southern states to occupy Democratic cities in the North, which reeks of Confederacy. The same president who hires neo Nazis and neo Confederates. If you didn't know any better, you'd say he was positioning troops in case of something occurring around next year in November. Um, Trump is obviously preparing to interrupt next year's midterm elections, no doubt in my mind. And then when you do that, that is an invitation to civil war, or at least actions by governors to start laying out the conditions for what would become a civil war. But militarizing and occupying cities for the sake of curbing elections is undoubtedly an act of civil war, especially when it's forming up as Southern aggression the way that it is right now. Donald Trump has taken the Proud Boys and funneled them into immigration's customs enforcement. Then he gave them $150 billion, which is enough money to be the second largest military force on earth. They are only going to proliferate. They're only going to hire. And because they're immigrations and customs enforcement, they will have the ability to deploy all over this country the same way the National Guard does. But the National Guard's a little bit more complicated because it requires, quote unquote, governor's participation, which is why the southern states are allowing it and the northern states are rejecting it. The lines are forming up. And where the last civil war formed up as North versus South, the country wasn't fully developed as it is now. Now you're looking at West versus Midwest versus Northeast versus the South versus Texas, because Texas is antsy to become its own country. I never thought in my lifetime that I would witness the possible dissolution of our country, but that is exactly what our current politics have brought, and it's been a process. Donald Trump is the eventuality that our politics would arrive at. Nothing and no one facilitated this more than Antonin Scalia. Nothing and no one facilitated this more than Citizens United and McCutcheon, those court cases that allowed all that dark money. Nothing facilitated this more than the Democrats accepting PAC money and not putting down a hard line when it came to Obama's reelection. Nothing facilitated this like the Republicans just being fucking evil from day one. Okay, you want to go ahead through the history of Republicans and Democrats, and you want to say, well, they Republicans are the ones who, overturned slavery. Ha ha ha. Don't play dumb with me. We all know the history. We all know who's who now. And if I ask everyone listening to the sound of my voice, who do you think the Ku Klux Klan voted for in the last election? Let's say 90%. Who do you think they voted for? They voted for the Republicans. Who do you think the neo-Nazis voted for? 100% Republicans. Who do you think the Proud Boys voted for? 100% of them. Oath Keepers, 100% of them. Every racist in this country, every white nationalist, white supremacist in this country voted for Donald Trump. All of them. And that says a lot about Donald Trump. The warning signs have been here all along. Now he has a Praetorian Guard. He's built a bunker around the White House. He's entrenched himself even further. He's building a $200 million ballroom for him and his, let's just say, former sex worker of a wife, Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend, um, who no doubt was bought and paid for and is being bought and paid for because she's nowhere around. All this is leading to what's being termed now as soft secession. And I understand it to be states like mine, California, Oregon, Washington, take Illinois, take New York, Democratic states with strong majorities who are forming strategies to mitigate against the damage that the Republican federal government is going to do. Part of that strategy is going to be tax avoidance. Governors can be crafty. They can structure things in such a way that they reduce their federal tax liabilities down to nothing. They can funnel state funds back into state funding programs as opposed to surpluses. They can create all kind of fund and fund all kind of agencies to ensure that the federal government doesn't get their money. Take California, for example, the largest donor to the federal government in this country, along with New York. If California decides that its social safety net is going to cost $150 billion a year now, so much for that surplus. How you gonna how you gonna fund that welfare in Alabama? How you gonna fund that bullshit in Tennessee you've been getting away with? How you gonna fund all those poor states, West Virginia? Y'all live off of us. You live off of our tax money. It's ridiculous. I live in Oregon. Oregon happens to be a taker state, which I found surprising, but we operate at a federal deficit. They actually give us more money than we give them. Washington, I'm sure, is the exact opposite. In fact, I know Washington donates. So what we're looking at now are coalitions being formed. California, Oregon, and Washington have been friends, let's just say. There was talk of Northern California splitting from Southern California at some point. That's pretty much over. They were calling it the state of Jefferson. Because all the northern hick counties that grow weed wanted to have their own tax revenue. They were just being greedy pigs as usual. So now we're in a position where you got to ask, if the country starts to break up, how's it going to happen, and what do you think are going to be is going to be the end result? Well, Trump has already begun to manipulate the Dow Jones. The biggest disaster is going to be the financial disaster. He's already begun manipulating the Dow Jones with fake news, fake tariff announcements, backtracking, chickening out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, creating booms, and mini busts for himself, rather, right? So he can buy on a bust, wait for it to go up, sell, et cetera, and make money. The president's made almost $4 billion this year with a $400,000 salary. I want any of you in the chat to let me know what you would do right now for a $400,000 salary. And this guy is in the White House making $4 billion in 7 months off of your largesse as a country. And you can't even fathom making $400,000 a year. You can't. You know you can't. It's disgusting. The wealth inequality in this country is absolutely disgusting. The many booms and busts from the tariffs are bad enough. But now he wants to A, manipulate the data. Head of BLS got to go, so we won't have reliable data for unemployment. He wants to control the Fed because he wants the interest rates decreased. That will create a hot economy. We'll get a big boom, a Reagan-esque boom. The hangover from that boom, the bust from that boom, will be an absolute economic calamity for anyone who is not absolutely wealthy and who doesn't get out before the crash. Personally, when it happens, because interest rates lowering means lending is cheaper. That means businesses can borrow money, people borrow money for houses, et cetera. The housing market heats up, prices go through the roof, et cetera. When it happens, and my house damn near doubles because it's going to happen, I'm selling it. I don't care what year it is, I'm selling it. And I'm putting my money in Bitcoin and moving someplace cheap or out of the country, depending on the situation. But the dollar is going to be relatively worthless after the economic crash that he creates. It's going to be relatively worthless. The dollar is already down 11% under Donald Trump. And the price of consumer goods is rising fast. That means you've lost purchasing power parity. As of 2020, China had caught up with the United States in terms of purchasing power parity. And what that means is the average purchasing power for the average person in the country, what they can go buy at the market. China is past us now. We are losing purchasing power parity as we speak. As consumers, as a country, we're losing it right now. And we've lost 10 to 15% of that since January, when we were the hottest economy in the world in December. So we we know who to point to. We know this is not Joe Biden's doing. We know this is Taco's doing. So that's yet another leg in the stool that he's chopping off, man. And then you add into that the dismantling of the HHS, CDC resignations, um, the defunding of messenger RNA vaccines. And frankly, if I was China, COVID 2025 coming your way, baby. Coming your way. Merry Christmas, America. We got that good shit coming for you. If I was China right now, you are 100% unprotected by this fool. In fact, he will lie about you dying and why you're dying if it is politically convenient for him to do so. He will withhold information about the virus we release if it's politically convenient. He will let you die. That's who we are being led by. Get some Bitcoin. I'm going to tell you now, please. There's a million freaking cyber dollars out there, blockchain money. Just buy some Bitcoin. Don't go scatterbrain trying to figure this shit out. Buy some Bitcoin as much as you can. Forget you own it and watch. The world's moving away from the US dollar. It will not be the standard any longer. That will happen within the next year. We're losing our civil rights. You will not be able to protest in the streets. You won't. They're going to start running people over. Certain states have passed laws that make it legal for you to be run over if you're blocking a public roadway. Florida. And they are certainly going to take advantage of that. I don't know why it hasn't happened yet, honestly. I don't know if there's a flag that's supposed to go up to kick all of this off, but to me, everything we've talked about tonight adds up to a purge. I think that America wants to shed about 20 to 30% of its population. Everything that we're doing right now is leading towards shedding 20 to 30% of the American population, with one exception, two exceptions actually. They want to lower the age of consent to marriage to 14, and they want to prosecute 14-year-olds as adults because they want to throw black boys in jail and they want to get 14-year-old girls pregnant, white girls. That's what they want to do. They want to start the breeding farms because the Latinos are multiplying too fast. So they want to go back to removing contraceptive completely. No contraceptives. You're seeing right now the highest level of social engineering possible, aside from a Holocaust, which I have no doubt they're planning. So what this is the how. We talked about how America's going to crash. The fallout is going to be secession, and this is how civil war really starts at the hottest level. Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, that's a natural constituency. I'm calling New Texas. That to me seems like a nation. You may even be able to throw Oklahoma and Colorado into that. New California will be California, whether that's Northern California broken off from Southern and Southern going to New Texas, or the whole of California coming along with Oregon and Washington. New Ghana, consisting of New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, and Vermont, the northeastern corner. And then what you have left is the battleground. And unlike in the past, when we said battleground states, we meant it in the electoral sense. I have a feeling that these are the states we're going to be fighting over in terms of territory, in terms of resources, in terms of might. We're going to be fighting over the states that are not in the Confederacy, the Midwest in general. And you could see Illinois, Detroit dragging Indiana along, dragging Michigan along. You could see that. But at some point, that urban boundary kicks in where it's big sky country and our power ends. But as of right now, you have Republicans acting on the president's order to dilute black political power all across America through congressional redistricting, as if it were not bad enough. And white America's just fine with it. White people, Republicans, you're just cool with it. It's okay. Cheat. Them niggas out. Cheat. Fuck them. Cheat. Could you imagine how they would react if it were us? Could you imagine white people with their entitlement having this sort of shit happen to them in plain sight? They'd lose it. They'd lose their fucking minds. Um, you see the thumbnail. I'm gonna wrap it up, but you see the thumbnail. Donald Trump is a Nazi. He is a Confederate. He is a Klansman. He is a Holy Crusader, though he doesn't know shit about Jesus. This is the lie who is running our country. He is a Zionist. He is a white nationalist. And I don't know how the Zionists feel they're going to survive this new deal they've made with neo-Nazis and people who hate them, Aryan Nation folks people who hate them. Maybe they feel they'll be last or their money and power can spare them this time. But they will do exactly that. They will reserve your asses for lasses. But make no mistake, their plan is for you to be exterminated so that Jesus can come back. And that's the only reason that they facilitate all of this, aside from the fact that you're white. It's all connected and it's all perverted. It's very sick. It's a world I wish we didn't have to live in. I'm trying to be somewhat vague about certain beliefs right now, but I feel like this paradigm that we live in that allows this little piece of shit country in the Middle East to dominate our lives so harshly really is something that everyone needs to think about. Why in the world Americans are so devout in their devotion to Israel? Why is Israel so important? Why are they so precious? Why? Why is that ethno state okay? Why is any ethno state okay? It's not okay to corral people. And that's what these states are. The United States was founded as a slave state, but the idea of the United States is one that if it if its ideals are fulfilled, it doesn't corral people. It's not a white nation. It's not a black nation. It's not a Muslim nation. It's not a Christian nation. It's not a Jewish nation. It's America. But the people who control everything require this Judeo-Christian paradigm that I strongly believe we need to get away from. Well, I feel like I've done my job tonight. I didn't cheat y'all. I was supposed to make a drop tonight. I will be recording video essays, probably writing throughout the week, recording on the weekends. I want to take my time and make sure I do a good job, bring you the highest quality. Try to catch up with my man FD Signifier and Ill Bill in terms of their work and the level that they bring to YouTube. Um, we're not going to stop making shorts. We're growing. We had close to 16,000 subscribers in August. I want to thank you all for that. We're now at 187,000 subscribers. We had 16 million views in August. And you might be saying, well, damn, Zen Master, you got 5 people watching you live. We're a shorts channel. We got hot on shorts. We're sticking with what's growing us, but at the same time, um, we got a lot to say. We got a lot of production value. I'm gonna start setting up some podcasts here in the Portland area to bring you some extremely high quality recorded content as well. So stay tuned. Big things coming to this channel. It's your man Zen Master for Pass the Joint Podcast. Salute the game, gang. And we'll see you on the next go round.